The sky above Houston turned strange on a Tuesday, not with clouds or storms, but with lights that moved in ways no Earth machine could. People pointed, cameras recorded, and governments scrambled. After decades of searching the stars had found humanity instead. Captain James Walker stood tall in his crisp blue uniform as the alien ship landed on the specially built pad. At 42, with gray touching his temples, he had been chosen to lead humanity's first contact team. His steady hands and calm mind had saved lives in 3 global conflicts. Now he faced something no human had faced before. Remember, he told his team of 5, we represent all of Earth today. The alien ship opened with a soft hiss. Walker had expected many things: tentacles, multiple eyes, strange skin. What he hadn't expected was how unimpressed the aliens would look. 3 beings stepped out. They walked on 2 legs and had 2 arms like humans, but their skin was pale blue and their eyes were large and black. The one in front, wearing something like a silver robe, looked at the humans the way a person might look at ants. "I am High Counselor Vex of the Galactic Council," it said in perfect English. "We have been watching your development for some time." Walker stepped forward with a respectful bow. "On behalf of Earth, we welcome you. I am Captain James Walker." Vex's mouth turned slightly upward. Captain, a military title. How primitive, but expected from your kind. The other aliens made a sound like quiet laughter. Walker kept his face neutral despite the insult. "We are honored to learn that we are not alone in the universe." "Of course you're not," Vex said. "The Galactic Council governs over 300 species across 12,000 star systems. Your solar system is merely the newest to be acknowledged." In the days that followed, Earth's leaders gathered in New York to hear the Council's offer. Walker sat in the back of the UN chamber, watching as Vex explained humanity's place in the galaxy. "You may join as a third-class civilization," Vex announced to the room of world leaders. "This means you can trade with basic goods, provide labor for council projects, and travel to designated areas with proper permits." The president of the African Union stood up. "And if we wish for more than third-class status?" Vex smiled thinly. "You must prove yourselves capable, which, given your biology and mental capacity, may take centuries." Later that night, Walker met with Earth's leadership in a secure room. "They're treating us like children," said First Minister Emma Grant of the United Earth Government. Walker nodded. "Yes, but children can surprise their elders. I suggest we accept their terms while showing them only what they expect to see." "You mean deceive them?" asked another leader. "I mean we don't correct their mistaken belief that we are simple creatures with limited potential," Walker replied. "Their arrogance is a weakness we can use." As the meeting ended, Dr. Lisa Reed, Earth's leading physicist, entered with a small device in her hand. "Found this inside their gift of star charts," she said, placing a tiny blinking object on the table. "It's a surveillance device. They're watching us even now." Walker smiled. "Good. Let them watch us celebrate and marvel at their technology. Meanwhile, we'll learn everything we can." He looked around the room at Earth's leaders. "The galaxy thinks we're weak, slow, and simple. That may be the biggest mistake they've ever made." Outside, Vex looked at Earth's night lights from his ship and shook his head. "Such a primitive world. They'll make good laborers, at least." He had no idea that humans were already planning to prove him very, very wrong. 10 years passed. To the watching eyes of the Galactic Council, Earth seemed to be a model of compliance. Humans worked the mines on distant moons, cleaned the great ships of more advanced races, and bowed their heads when council members walked by. Such good workers, Vex told his fellow council members. Simple but useful. But beneath this mask of obedience, humanity was changing. Admiral James Walker, promoted for his excellent management of human resources, stood inside a hidden facility buried deep under Europa's icy surface. Around him, hundreds of scientists worked on reverse-engineered alien technology. "How is the drive coming, Dr. Reed?" he asked. Lisa Reed looked up from a glowing blue device, now 50, with streaks of white in her dark hair. She had spent a decade studying the Council's faster-than-light drives. "I found their mistake," she said, eyes bright with discovery. "Their FTL system ignores a basic feature of space. We can make it 30% faster and use half the fuel." Walker smiled. "And they still believe we're struggling to understand their basic mathematics." "Their arrogance blinds them," Reed said. "They've used the same drive design for 2,000 years because they think it's perfect." Across the galaxy, humans were placed in positions no one else wanted. They cleaned data centers, maintained waste systems, and served food to the higher races. No one noticed how much humans saw or how much they learned. Tom Blake wiped tables in the Council's central archive. Each day, he memorized 3 new pieces of information about Council defense systems. Each night, he transmitted this knowledge back to Earth using a tiny device hidden in his tooth. "More cleaning, human," ordered a tall, green-skinned Council officer. "Yes, sir." "Sorry, sir," Blake mumbled, keeping his eyes down while his mind recorded every detail of the security panel the officer was using. On Mars, the first human colony beyond Earth had grown into a busy port. Council observers watched with amusement as humans used primitive versions of alien technology. They didn't know that beneath the surface of Mars, vast factories produced ships with Reed's improved drive. Walker sat in a secure room with First Minister Grant, now in her second term as Earth's leader. "The mining colony on Titan is ready," Grant said. "The Council believes it's just a simple operation to extract water ice." Walker nodded. "The moment they leave us alone out there, we'll build the fleet." A young officer burst into the room. "Admiral, the Dracor have attacked our mining team on Ceres." Walker stood quickly. "The warrior race. How many dead?" "None yet, sir. Commander Torres is holding them off, but they're outnumbered 20 to 1. Grant's face paled. "The Council warned us about the Dracor. They said they'd protect us." Walker checked the emergency line to the Council. There was only a recorded message. "All representatives are in session. Please leave a message." "They're leaving us to die," Grant whispered. Walker's jaw tightened. "Or they're testing us, seeing how we handle ourselves." He turned to the officer. "Send word to Torres. Help is coming." "From where, sir? We can't reveal our hidden ships." Walker looked at Grant, who nodded slowly. "It's time to show a little of what we can do," Walker said. "Just enough to survive, not enough to reveal our true strength." High in orbit above Earth, Vex watched the situation unfold on Ceres with mild interest. "The humans will either die or beg us for rescue," he told his aide. "Either way, they'll learn their place." He had no idea that the small human transport ship racing toward Ceres carried weapons that would shock even the battle-hardened Dracor. Commander Alex Torres watched the Dracor ships surround the Ceres mining colony. His 50 miners clutched makeshift weapons. To anyone watching, they looked scared and hopeless against the lizard-like Dracor warriors known across the galaxy for their brutality. But Torres was smiling. "Play your parts well," he whispered to his team through their hidden earpieces. "Remember, we look weak until my signal." The largest Dracor ship landed. 20 massive warriors stomped out, each nearly 8 feet tall with scaled skin and sharp teeth. Their leader, a scared giant, laughed at the trembling humans. "Your Council friends abandoned you," he growled. "Your minds belong to the Dracor now. Drop your tools and beg for mercy." Torres stepped forward, appearing to shake with fear. "Please, we're just miners. We have families." The Dracor leader grinned. "Then you'll work for us now. Those who refuse will be lunch." Behind them, more Dracor ships landed. Over 200 warriors began to surround the small human outpost. Torres pressed a hidden button on his wrist. "Actually, I think you misunderstood something important." "What's that, little human?" The Dracor leader sneered. "We're not just miners," Torres said, his voice suddenly steady. "We're soldiers too. The ground beneath the Dracor ships suddenly erupted as hidden weapons platforms rose from the dust. The frightened miners stood straight, their mining tools transforming into advanced weapons with a quick twist. "What trickery is this?" roared the Dracor leader. Torres fired first, his weapon sending a pulse that knocked the massive alien backward. "It's called planning ahead." The battle was short but fierce. The miners moved with perfect coordination, using tactics the Dracor had never seen. Instead of facing the aliens head-on as expected, the humans used their smaller size to dart between the larger warriors. They fired weapons that didn't kill but instead stunned or trapped the Dracor in quick hardening foam. From orbit, 3 Council observer ships watched in shock. "Impossible," whispered one blue-skinned official. "These are just human miners. How are they defeating Dracor warriors?" When the battle ended, all 200 Dracor were captured without a single human death. Torres transmitted a message to Earth. "Situation handled. All hostiles contained. No casualties on our side." In the council chamber, Vex received the news with disbelief. "There must be an error in the report. Humans cannot defeat Dracor." His assistant checked again. "The report is confirmed, High Counselor. The human miners successfully defended themselves." Vex's face darkened. "Send investigators immediately. There must be an explanation. Perhaps they got lucky. Perhaps the Dracor were not fighting at full strength." Meanwhile, on Europa, Admiral Walker listened to Torres's full report with satisfaction. "You revealed just enough, Commander. Well done." Dr. Reed entered, excitement clear on her face. "The Defiance is ready, Admiral." Walker followed her to a massive underground dock where Earth's first truly independent starship waited. Unlike the clunky human ships the Council knew about, this vessel was sleek and powerful, incorporating all of humanity's secret advances. "How fast is she?" Walker asked. Reed smiled. "Twice as fast as anything the Council has, with triple the range." "And they have no idea it exists," Walker said, placing his hand on the ship's hull. Later that day, a Council message arrived for Earth's leaders. "Due to the recent incident, we are imposing new restrictions on human activities for your own safety." First Minister Grant read the message and laughed. "They still think we need their protection." Walker nodded. "Good. Let them keep thinking that, for now." In his private chambers, Vex studied the reports from Ceres again. "Just luck," he muttered. "Humans are still primitive. They must be." But for the first time, there was doubt in his voice. Tom Blake polished the same spot on the floor for the 3rd time, right outside the Council's main meeting room. No one paid any attention to a human cleaner. He was as invisible as the walls. "The Dracor are furious about Ceres," said a passing Council member to another. "They want revenge against the humans." The second alien laughed. "Let them have it. It will put these creatures back in their place." Blake kept his head down, but his ears caught every word. The tiny device in his ear recorded everything. Across the galaxy, 10,000 humans like Blake worked in positions no one else wanted. Cleaners, servers, maintenance workers, all ignored, all watching, all remembering. They were Admiral Walker's eyes and ears. On the Council's central archive station, Blake finished his shift and returned to his tiny quarters. He placed his hand against a hidden panel in the wall, and a small computer appeared from behind a false panel. "Connection secure," whispered a voice from Earth. "The Dracor are planning something big," Blake reported. "The Council knows but isn't warning Earth." Back on Earth, Admiral Walker received this message along with hundreds like it from human agents scattered across Council space. "They're gathering a full invasion fleet," said Walker to First Minister Grant. "Not just a raiding party like on Ceres. They mean to take Earth." Grant's face was grim. "And the Council? They know. They're watching to see what happens." Grant stood and walked to the window, looking out at the rebuilt skyline of New London. "After 15 years of playing weak, maybe it's time to show them who we really are." Walker nodded slowly. "Not all at once. just enough to survive and to change the rules of the game. On the Dracor homeworld, war drums pounded as ships gathered. The Dracor supreme leader addressed his warriors. The humans humiliated our brothers on Ceres. We will crush their world and take their people as slaves. Thousands of Dracor roared in agreement, their battle cries echoing through the massive hall. In a shadowy corner, a human server named Mark filled drinking cups. Like Blake, he wore a recording device. Like Blake, no one noticed him. The council's high chamber was in session. Vex stood before the gathered representatives of 300 species. The Dracor fleet moves toward Earth, he announced. Should we warn the humans? An older member stood. Why bother? They are simple creatures. They cannot stop a Dracor war fleet. Perhaps we should help them, suggested a younger member. Laughter filled the chamber. Help them? Vex smiled. No, let us observe. If the humans survive, which I doubt, they will be grateful for any scraps of assistance we offer afterward. If they fall, we find another species to mine their worlds. On the station above them, Blake downloaded the complete plans of the Council's defense systems into a tiny data chip. 15 years of patient work had given him access to every security code. Final transmission complete, he whispered into his communicator. Well done, came Walker's voice. Return to Earth immediately. We're bringing everyone home. Across Council space, human workers suddenly requested leave to visit their families. Transport ships filled with returning humans. The Council barely noticed this movement. Why would they care about servants going home? Vex received a report about human movements but dismissed it. They'd probably heard about the Dracor. They flee home in fear. In Earth orbit, Walker stood on the bridge of the Defiance, watching as Earth's hidden fleet assembled. 100 ships, each more advanced than anything the Council had seen. Is it time, Admiral? Asked his second-in-command. Walker looked at the tactical display, showing the approaching Dracor fleet. Yes. Set the trap. Let's show the galaxy exactly what humanity can do. The Dracor invasion fleet appeared at the edge of the solar system, 500 warships strong. Their hulls were black and covered with weapons. Earth, by comparison, seemed almost defenseless. A few small stations orbited the planet, and only 20 visible ships stood guard. On the Dracor flagship, Supreme Leader Grax laughed at the sight on his view screen. This is their defense. These humans truly are as weak as the Council says. A Council observation ship hovered at a safe distance. 3 members of Vex's inner circle watched with interest. How long do you think the humans will last? Asked one. 1 day, perhaps 2, replied another. Enough time to enjoy the show. The Dracor fleet moved closer to Earth, spreading out to surround the planet. Their weapons powered up, ready to rain destruction. Admiral Walker stood on the bridge of the Defiance, still hidden behind Earth's moon along with 80 other advanced ships. He watched the enemy approach on his tactical display. They're taking the bait, he said. They think we're defenseless. Dr. Reed checked the readings on her console. All ships report ready, Admiral. The new drive systems are functioning perfectly. Walker touched his earpiece. Commander Torres is your team in position. From a seemingly empty area of space, Torres responded, Yes, Admiral. Stealth systems holding. The Dracor have no idea we're here. Walker nodded. All ships prepare for Phase 1. On Earth, First Minister Grant addressed the world leaders gathered in the underground command center. For 15 years, we've hidden our true strength, she said. Today, we show the galaxy who we really are. The Dracor fleet entered Earth orbit. Supreme Leader Grax opened a communication channel. Humans, your world belongs to the Dracor now. Surrender and serve us, or die. From her office, Grant responded with a trembling voice, playing her part perfectly. Please, we are a peaceful people. We cannot fight you. Grax grinned, showing rows of sharp teeth. Then prepare to be conquered. The lead Dracor ships fired their first shots at Earth's small defensive platforms. As the platforms exploded, Grax laughed again. Too easy. Begin the invasion. That's when Admiral Walker gave the signal. Now. Suddenly, the space around the Dracor fleet shimmered as 100 human ships dropped their stealth fields. They had been there all along, invisible to Dracor sensors. What is this? Grax roared in surprise. The human ships moved with impossible speed, darting between the larger Dracor vessels. Their weapons fired with precision, disabling engines and weapon systems without destroying the ships. On the Council observation vessel, the aliens watched in shock. Impossible. Those ships move faster than any technology we know. Walker's voice came over all channels, broadcasting to the Dracor, to Earth, and to the watching Council members. Dracor fleet, you are surrounded. Your weapons and engines are being disabled. Surrender now. Grax slammed his fist on his command chair. Never. Dracor do not surrender. Then perhaps a demonstration is needed, Walker replied calmly. The Defiance suddenly appeared directly in front of the Dracor flagship, having moved so quickly that it seemed to teleport. Before Grax could react, the human ship fired a focused beam that cut through his vessel's shields like they weren't there. How is this possible? Gasped a Council observer. Their technology. It cannot be human-made. But it was. Dr. Reed's improvements had given human ships speed and power that the Council had never imagined possible. Walker's voice came again. Your flagship is now disabled, Supreme Leader Grax. I'm coming aboard to discuss terms. In his command chamber, Vex received the first reports of the battle with disbelief. Check your sources again. Humans cannot defeat a Dracor war fleet. But as more reports flooded in, all saying the same thing, Vex felt something he had never felt before when thinking about humans. 3 days after the battle, a large Council delegation arrived at Earth. Their ships moved cautiously past the captured Dracor vessels. The Dracor fleet, once proud and fearsome, now floated powerless in Earth orbit, guarded by human ships that shouldn't exist. High Counselor Vex led the delegation himself. His usual smug expression was gone, replaced by careful neutrality. As his shuttle docked at Earth's orbital station, he prepared to offer assistance to the humans who had somehow survived. Admiral Walker waited in the meeting room, dressed in a simple blue uniform without decoration. Next to him stood Dr. Reed and First Minister Grant. Remember, Grant whispered, they still think this was luck or outside help. Walker nodded as the doors opened and Vex entered with 10 other council members. High Counselor, Walker greeted with a small bow. Welcome to Earth. Vex looked around the station with new eyes, noticing details he had ignored before. Admiral Walker, the Council has come to help manage the aftermath of this unexpected situation. Very kind, Walker replied. But as you can see, the situation is well in hand. A council member stepped forward, his tall green form towering over the humans. We find it difficult to believe that humans defeated a Dracor war fleet alone. Who helped you? Walker smiled. No one helped us, Counselor. We've been helping ourselves for 15 years while you watched and saw only what you expected to see. Vex's eyes narrowed. What do you mean? Let me show you, Walker said. He led them to a large hangar where a sleek ship waited. Unlike the clunky human vessels the Council was familiar with, this ship was clearly advanced. This is the Defiance, Walker explained, built with technology that we developed by improving on your designs. Dr. Reed stepped forward. Your FTL drive design had flaws that you never corrected. We fixed them and made the drive twice as efficient. Impossible, whispered a council scientist. Our designs are perfect. No, Reed replied. They were just never questioned. Walker gestured to a large screen showing the solar system. Small dots of light appeared throughout it. These are our outposts and ships. We have over 500 vessels now, all with technology that equals or exceeds Council standards. Vex's face darkened. You've been deceiving us. No more than you deceived us and every other lesser species, Grant countered. We've accessed your records, Counselor, for 10,000 years, your council has been deliberately holding back technological advancement for hundreds of species. Walker touched a control panel, and images appeared of various alien races working in mines, factories, and as servants. You've created a galactic case system, with yourself at the top. It's for the greater good, Vex argued. Some species aren't ready for advanced technology. Who decides that? Walker asked. You? Before Vex could answer, Walker pressed another button. His voice began broadcasting to every council world, every ship, and every outpost across the galaxy. Attention, citizens of the galaxy. This is Admiral James Walker of Earth. For too long, the Council has deceived you about your potential. They have withheld technology, denied education, and kept you serving their needs while claiming it was for your own good. Images began to play showing Council documents, secret meetings, and plans to keep lesser species dependent on Council authority. Today that ends, Walker continued. Earth offers alliance to all species who wish to develop freely. We will share technology, education, and resources without the restrictions the Council has imposed for millennia. Vex lunged for the control panel. Stop this immediately. But it was too late. The message was playing on every screen across Council space. Workers looked up from their tasks. Servants paused in their duties. And for the first time, they began to question. In the Council chamber back home, emergency alarms sounded as protests erupted on 50 worlds simultaneously. The tall green counselor looked at Walker with new respect. You didn't just defeat the Dracor. You've started a revolution. Walker nodded. The galaxy made a grave mistake when it underestimated humanity. But we won't make the same mistake with you. Everyone deserves a chance to reach their full potential. 6 months after Walker's broadcast, the galaxy looked very different. The Grand Council chamber that had stood for 10,000 years now hosted representatives from all species, sitting as equals around a circular table. Admiral Walker, now wearing the simple white uniform of the new Galactic Alliance, looked across the chamber at faces both familiar and new. Species that had once been considered too primitive to participate now spoke with confidence about trade, technology, and the future. The final vote stands at 293 in favor, 7 against, announced First Minister Grant, who co-chaired the alliance with a tall, graceful being from a world once deemed underdeveloped. Then it is decided, Walker said. All technological restrictions are lifted. Knowledge will flow freely between worlds. A cheer went up around the table. Only a small group of former council leaders sat in silence, Vex among them. Their power broken, they now served as advisors, their vast experience still valuable if no longer controlling. After the meeting, Walker walked with Dr. Reed through the new Alliance headquarters, built on the site of the former mining colony where Commander Torres had first shown the galaxy humanity's unexpected strength. Did you ever think we'd end up here? Walker asked. Reed smiled. Changing the entire galaxy? Not exactly. I just wanted to fix their engines. Your engines did more than move ships, Walker replied. They moved minds. Across the galaxy, the changes were visible everywhere. Human teachers worked alongside other species, sharing knowledge that had been hoarded for millennia. Ships with Reed's improved drives carried goods and people between worlds that had once been isolated from each other. Tom Blake, no longer a secret agent pretending to be a cleaner, now led the Alliance's Information Bureau, ensuring that knowledge flowed freely to all worlds. The latest reports are encouraging, he told Walker as they met in Blake's office. Literacy rates are up on 87 formerly restricted worlds. Scientific patents have increased by 300%. Walker nodded. And the former council worlds? Adjusting, Blake said. Some better than others. Vex has been surprisingly helpful in the transition. Later that day, Walker found Vex standing alone on a balcony overlooking the bustling spaceport. Enjoying the view, Counselor? Walker asked. Vex turned. His face had aged in the past months, the strain of losing his position evident. Admiral. Yes, I am. I'm surprised, Walker admitted, "I expected more resistance from you." Vex looked back at the ships coming and going. "When I first saw what you humans had accomplished, I was angry, then afraid. Now, I'm simply impressed." He gestured at the activity below. "In 10,000 years, the Council never achieved this level of cooperation or advancement. We were so certain our way was best that we stopped looking for better ones." "The greatest trap is believing you have nothing left to learn," Walker said. Vex nodded. "A lesson my people learned too late. On Earth, the Defiance was being prepared for a historic mission. It would be the first ship to attempt travel to the Andromeda Galaxy, carrying representatives from 20 different species. Commander Torres, now captain of the Defiance, supervised the final preparations. "Ready to make history again, Admiral?" he asked as Walker came aboard for inspection. "This time we go as explorers, not rebels," Walker replied. That evening, Walker stood with Dr. Reed on the observation deck, watching Earth grow smaller as the Defiance began its journey. "We have a lot to thank the Council for, in a way," Walker said. Reed raised an eyebrow. "How so?" "By underestimating us, they forced us to exceed even our own expectations," Walker explained. "Sometimes the greatest gift is someone believing you can't do something." Reed smiled. "The galaxy made a grave mistake." "The best kind of mistake," Walker replied. "The kind that leads to something better." As the Defiance accelerated to its new, unprecedented speed, the stars stretched into lines of light, carrying humanity and its new allies toward a future that none of them could have imagined just a few years before.